Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing the minimally requested stats video. I'm going to go through my background and all of my scores and my thoughts as to why I may have gotten into some of the schools that I got into and then rejected from some schools. I have absolutely no clue why my application resonated with the admissions officers, but these are, I don't know, kind of interesting to watch, so I thought I would do one. So let's get into it. First off, my background. So I feel like this information isn't given a lot in stats videos, but is extremely important to how the committee looks at you, because they are looking at what school you go to, what type of school you go to, are you in a rural town or a city, what opportunities have you been given or does your school provide, and all that jazz. First of all, I want to mention that I went to an all-girls private school in Houston, Texas. So I was not in a rural area, but I was from a state that doesn't send too many students. Compared to New Jersey, California, New York, Texas, and Houston isn't a huge feeder, but it is a metropolitan city, so there were interviews available and resources like AP classes and tests. I also wanted to note that my private school was not competitive to the same degree that other private or boarding or feeder schools are. Only about like 20 to 30 out of the 240 girls go to top schools, and there's not like that much competition within that. And we also don't rank, so we're a non-ranking school, and it's not like cutthroat like I know some schools are in the Bay Area. Also, I am half Hispanic and half white. I don't want to comment too much on this, but it is part of my identity, and I did write about it in my essays, so I just wanted to mention that if anyone was curious. Also, another thing about my background is that I am a full pay applicant, and I think that definitely does factor into my decision at least one of my schools. And then I also wanted to mention my future plans, because I think the context of what you want to do is really important in the process. So my whole brand was that I wanted to be, or I still want to be, a screenwriter. So my entire application was based on the premise of wanting to be a screenwriter and increase diversity and representation on films. Okay, so now that we have all of the background information, let's get into the numbers. If you're struggling with standardized testing, it is okay. I struggled so much, and I ended up only sitting in one score, even though I took like 10 tests. But I'm gonna start with my PSAT. I got a 1430, which is actually not bad, and I got commended on that, and that was one of the awards that I put on my application. But nobody actually saw that score, so it doesn't really matter what you get on the PSAT. It is really helpful to be national merit though, because you can get awesome scholarships at schools like USC and state schools, so work to that goal. Anyways, I want to go through my subject test scores next, and I'll put all of the scores up on the screen. Sophomore year, I took world history. I got a 630, and that was 49th percentile, so I did not send that score in, and I didn't send in any of these scores, but I just wanted to encourage those that don't do amazing on their subject tests that it is okay, and you definitely don't need them. You definitely don't need them this year. But I'm expecting the trend to kind of fall away from subject tests, but I'll still let you know my terrible scores. So chemistry, I got a 680, and that's 47th percentile. Math level 2, the first time I got a 660, which is 34th percentile. US history, I got a 600, which is 27th percentile. And math level 2, I got a 730 the second time I took it, and that's still only 52nd percentile. So as you can see, my subject test scores were trash. Yeah, I didn't send any of those in because they were just so horrible, and it would just make me look worse than if I did send them in. I think this could have been to a disadvantage at like schools like Princeton and Harvard, which do kind of place an emphasis on subject tests, but at other places it didn't seem to be an issue. So I would recommend, if you've taken them like 2 or 3 times and they haven't gone well, just quit now, because it doesn't matter, and I don't think it will in the future. So yeah, moving on to my SAT. So November, of junior year, I took it and I got a 1450. It wasn't where I wanted to be for the schools that I knew I was going to be applying to. I really wanted to be in that 1500 range. So again, if you're struggling to get into that 1500 range, you're going to be okay. March, I got a 1470, and then in May, I got a 1420. So my score kind of went horribly downhill. So at that point, I was like, I can't take the SAT anymore, and so I switched over to the ACT. In June, the first time I took it with like little to no preparation, I got a 31. And then in September, I took it and I finally got the score that I needed, which was a 35. So yeah, after all of those tests, I ended up only sending in one score, and that was the 35. I didn't send in any subject test scores, and early action to Harvard, I didn't even send in my AP test scores, which I don't know if that hurt or helped, but to all my regular decision schools, I sent in my ACT score and my AP scores, which I had 2 4s and a 5, so I don't know. Anyway, don't stress about subject test scores. Let's get into the grades. Yeah, this is another area that I wasn't amazing at. To some people's standards in my school, it was fine. Maybe I'll give a little hope to somebody out there, but I got 2 B's. Yeah, I got 2 B's, the rest were A's. I was in the top 6% of my class out of 230 or 40 other girls. So even though I got B's, I was still at the top of my class, and I think that's what really matters. If you have B's or low A's or whatever, I think rank matters a little bit more because they want to see how you do in comparison to the people around you, not in comparison to every kid in America. So as long as you are thriving in your own community, you'll be perfectly fine. I'll put my report card or whatever on the screen, but I wanted to just note that I took every single honors or AP class that I could take, and that my math classes were a little bit, I don't know, behind. I know other kids who are in like the Bay Area and New York were taking like BC Calc junior year, but I didn't take calculus until senior year, and it was only regular calculus, so I never even took AP calculus. Yeah, I didn't see it as an issue, again, because I wanted to do filmmaking, but I will recommend, if you are in 8th grade, go to Kumon or whatever, because I think it does help if you have really high level math classes on your transcript, depending on what you want to do. For me, I didn't really care. Again, if you're in a rural area or from a school that doesn't do that, don't worry about it, because they'll look at your profile and the context of your school. Next, I'm going to go over my honors again. Going through my application, I'm very unimpressed because I didn't have any international or national awards even, really. So my awards list is pretty basic and unimpressive, but if you're in a position like me and don't have a lot of awards under your belt, don't stress about it. The honors that I put on my common application, that was National Merit Commended, National Hispanic Scholar. I was commended for the Young Arts Foundation one year. I had an honorable mention for a film that I made with a friend from my school, and then I was in 4 different NHSs. And then I ended up getting 2 Silver Key awards during the year in February, so I updated all of my schools and sent them an email about that. Definitely update your schools if you get awards during the year and you think that they're important to your application. Now, I will go into my activities. Yay! So the activity section is vital to your application. It shows the committee what you've been doing in your free time. And for me, this is where I think I picked up a lot of the slack in terms of scores, awards, and grades that were kind of just This is kind of where things were So first up, I said Creator Stag, which is a school sitcom that I created, wrote, filmed, edited, all that jazz. So that was the first and most important vital thing on my application, and then I also talked about that in every single interview that I did. I was the founder of Amplify Productions, which is a little production company that I founded. Did some promotional things for some nonprofits. I was professionally trained film and stage actress, and then noted some of my credentials for short films and play. and competition. Next, I said that I was the co-CEO at MIT LaunchX, which is a summer program that I did where we started a company. Yeah, the company wasn't amazing, but I am also the CEO and founder of my own decal company, so I put that on there. I did an NYU marketing camp thingy. I also do pre-professional ballet, modern tap, and jazz, which eats up a lot of my time. Founder and co-president of the Animal Club, and then founder and vice president of a vegan club. And then I was in student council and I was a homeroom representative. Most activities, I was the creator or catalyst of the activity, so I started it on my own or led it or something like that. And I think colleges love to see when you create things, especially because my application was all about creating things that I had really experienced. Like in the future, I want to create diversity and inclusion on screen. So my application was kind of about me being an entrepreneur in a few different ways, and that came through in my activities list, even if the things weren't crazy. Like I was the founder of a club, that's not insane, but it showed that I was willing to start my own things when I didn't see them already in existence. I did want to speak briefly on my interviews. For me, it was all about my brand, again, coming back to wanting to be a screenwriter, wanting to make change, and kind of being an entrepreneur. And I always had to mention that in the interviews. I would recommend coming up with like one sentence that represents you and who you are, and using that to all aspects of your application and highlighting that in their interview, because at the end of the day, the alumni are just trying to figure out what to write about you and report back to the colleges. Another thing I wanted to mention was my essays. I'm not going to read them here for you, and I don't know if I ever will, but I did want to mention that again, they spoke to the brand. I had 2 topics that I had to write about in every single application, regardless of what the essay requirements were. And that was 1, my mom, and how she influenced me as a single mom and entrepreneur herself, and also how that affected my cultural identity. And then 2, I had to write about Mindy Kaling and how her diverse representation in her show, The Mindy Project, really affected me and showed me that I could be a writer too. So those were the 2 things I had to note on because they really shaped who I was today and who I want to be in the future. But I would just write about something that is really vital to who you are. And for me, it was somebody who just really wants to help others and create change. And I showed them how I wanted to do that and how I planned on doing that in the future. So that is me. I wish you the best of luck, especially this year. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please again take everything that I said with a grain of salt because I have no clue how I got into college, but I hope this was helpful or reassuring in some way, and I'll see you later. Bye.